of the state, which is why clinical legal education, like as I described earlier, really gave me the skills I needed to advance my career to where it is today, because it wasn't just about passing exams. It was about inculcating lifelong or skills that would make for lifelong impact and lifelong progress. So the second is the need. And the needs assessment is an attempt to answer the question, like I said, what is required to bridge the gap of legal empowerment. However, I'd invite you to never be limited by your context in designing your solution. Sometimes context, understanding context, limits the extent to which you can dream. I'd invite you to assume that the needs, the financial needs, the skill needs are provided already, and give yourself the opportunity to dream big and wide. Never fail for want of trying. Approach your career or this effort at legal empowerment with the idea that nothing is impossible. However, predetermine in your mind that you will stay the course and go the full length within the realm of your capacity to pursue your goals. So there needs to be a goal. There needs to be an understanding of what needs to be done, but it doesn't have to be limited by what you can see. I usually say to people that the greatest form of knowledge that anyone can have is the knowledge of what they do not know, especially when they have the courage to pursue that knowledge. And so designing a plan or identifying what needs to be done must be done from a standpoint of the fact that nothing is impossible, and you can learn what needs to be learned. You can submit yourself to mentorship. You can submit yourself to, you can expose yourself to more knowledge. You can work in partnership with people. So what you do not have within your reality should not limit the extent to which you can go. So in thinking about the needs, what needs to be done in addressing the gap in legal empowerment, or understanding, let's say, for example, the Nigerian Constitution, don't think about it just from the standpoint of who you have in front of you, but think about what you can do. What can Abia State University do with Nasarawa State University to solve the problem? I know the competition focuses on what each clinic can do, but I'd love to see 2 clinics working on something together. I'd love to see 3 clinics or 3 individuals from different schools working on something together, because ultimately the goal is to ensure that we are advancing growth and development from, and the scope could differ, but I'm just trying to push you to think about things even broadly, even wider. Finally, the strategy. This is where you pour the needs assessment into the mold of the context and identify how you can begin to bridge the gap. It's always useful to have a phased or tiered approach towards any objective, a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term approach, or a long-term plan. Then to develop a plan that advances towards your objectives, you keep at it, allowing room for changes and tweaks and reconsideration. And within the context of this program, for example, if you have a goal of reaching all the young people who will be first-time voters in 2027, for example, in Nigeria, and preparing them in advance for exercising their constitutional right to vote, work out a phased plan. Could be yearly, it could be monthly. Staff your plan. You have your colleagues, but also don't just focus on lawyers. And that's something we did in our street law program in ABSU. We always worked with other faculties, other schools, people from I remember preparing for the client consultation competition with someone from the medical school. We were using some hypothetical scenarios from the medical profession. So we must think beyond this as something we're doing as students, something we're doing as lawyers. And I'd like to propose this also broadly, just in terms of how we conceptualize clinical legal education. It must match what the reality is out there. It must match, and that's what NULAI always pushes us to do, to think about this beyond the standpoint of just getting a certificate. Your bank of skills must reflect even more than what the certificate says. And so the phase plan, you staff your plan, and most importantly, you find out what others are doing about the similar goal, about that goal, and ensure that your efforts complement each other and are not opposed to each other or just reinventing the wheel. Now, one thing we must note is that to succeed in a fluid context, you must stay curious, you must stay teachable, you must stay humble, you must see correction and or even failure as a part of the process and not anything to set you back. And you must welcome other ideas. You must submit to mentoring and volunteer to support the work of other people and keep learning. One thing I will usually say is never go to bed the same person that woke up. Always make sure you learn something that advances you, that keeps you going. And never, don't desire immediate gratification or the arrival mentality. It's possible that what you want to achieve today may not have happened, but make sure you learn from that and never fail for want of trying. Now, I'll begin to wrap up, and I'd like to share a bit of my story uh, while at the law clinic. Now, in 2010, my context was that of the end of a strike action that had kept us at home for over 2 months. We returned, and some of our senior colleagues at the time, Oji Awoka and Amalachuku, had just returned from the client consultation competition in Hong Kong. And there was an opportunity to participate. And so we got involved, or I got involved and worked to perform the task in the clinic and just to get to a point where I could be selected for the competition. At that point, that was the context. But while we were at it, there was yet another strike that sent us back home. What we did was that we decided, myself and a few of my friends, to invite Oji Awoka to come train us in Umuahia for the competition that was coming the year after. There was no sense of the fact that we were going to be selected or how it was going to happen or that it was even going to happen at all. But we got trained and we perfected the skill. I told you that once when we returned, we even got other people who were not in our community to support our training and our work. Ultimately, we got selected. We won the national competition and represented Nigeria in Dublin. And that sets up the trajectory for my career in particular, because when I returned, something had ticked in my mind about what it meant to succeed. And so I went to one of my mentors and I told him I wanted to make an A in my long essay, my final project. And he said, write on something that no one else has researched. I looked around and no one else had researched on the Freedom of Information Act. So I decided to focus on that. I did the research on that, and while I was doing that, the same individual, Oji Awoka, attended a NULAI event where the focus was freedom of information. He returned with materials and shared them with me. I called the phone number there to learn more, and I got invited by Open Society Justice Initiative to Abuja to learn more about the freedom of information law. I returned to ABSU with almost all I needed to complete my project, and I did complete it, and it was successful. I made the A, but it didn't stop there. I organized a session to train the fourth year and final year students on the freedom of information law and using the clinical legal education structure. We had working groups, we had breakout sessions, we had clear objectives, and so everyone, fourth year and final year, learned all I learned in Abuja. So I had extended that knowledge to over 200 people. And then we organized a session for the community, the Isukwato community of Abia State, in Abia State. We got the local government involved, and we trained over 300 people in Igbo language. And it continued to go that way. What we did not do at the time was to figure out how to get people to start making requests to the government. But that's just a picture of what we did at the point. But it was more than just a competition. It was more than just a program. It became a lifestyle, and that's exactly what I'm trying to pass along. Now, as we think about digital, and I'll wrap up with this, as we think about using digital resources, there's an abundance of digital resources. And the fact that you may not know all of them just lies in the distance between what you know today and what you could know tomorrow that could support your work is research, is asking questions, is staying curious, is staying hungry. We are in a world now of generative artificial intelligence. And that has ramifications for what you are able to produce and the speed with which you can produce content that can be tailored to a certain demography or a certain audience. Do you know about generative AI, or can you learn about it? Again, the greatest form of knowledge is the knowledge of what you do not know if you have the desire to pursue that knowledge. Now, with social media, there are algorithms. There's a lot of writing about algorithms. How do algorithms work? If you're on Instagram, you need a video that is at least up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The first 3 seconds matters as to how your video would be accepted. Do you know about the algorithms? You have to learn about that. There are platforms for designing CapCuts for Canva, and also how to manage online engagement, knowing when to post and when not to post. I looked at the plan for the competition. So there's a lot that you need to learn, but you need to stay curious and you need to stay hungry. So there is definitely the value that digital resources bring to legal empowerment, but there is the mindset that anyone working in this field must have, one that does not just see challenges, but sees them as wrappings of opportunities. I will stop here now because I know I've exhausted my time. Thank you very much. Are you there?
Thank you. Yes, I am. Okay. Thank you very much, Ikechukwu, for that very articulate and insightful session. I hope that our participants are picking up, points from the sessions as we go on. So before we proceed, I'd like to recognize the presence of some of our invited guests. We have some members of the NULAI board who are with us this afternoon. We have Professor Sam Erugu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. We have Dr. Nasiru Mukhtar, and we have our Professor C.O. Dikoya. Also, we have our Professor Omolade Olomola with us. Beg your pardon. We also have Dr. Miriam Idris Abdulkadri from Bayes University, Nigeria, and Mr. Stanley Ibe as well. And then finally, I'd like to say welcome and thank you for joining us to the participants from the Global Alliance for Justice Education who have joined us from different parts of the world today. So moving on to our next session, I will be briefly introducing the N-VSL program to you, what it is, what the N-VSL program is, and what NULAI aims to achieve with the N-VSL program. Kindly give me a minute as I share my slide. Okay, so apologies for that brief interruption. Oh, currently. My apologies for the network glitch. Please just give me a minute while I properly sort that out and then we'll proceed. Thank you. Okay, great. We are good to proceed now. Thank you very much for your patience. So, by way of introduction, I am going to begin with looking at why laws are made. So you will agree with me that laws are made to primarily to guide societal progress, to drive development and ensure that there is order and justice in the society. Uh, and for and for us to be able to achieve this, that is to be able to achieve this societal progress, to be able to drive development, ensure order and justice, and which would ultimately, lead to just and democratic societies, it is important that members of the society understand what these laws are, how these laws affect them, how the laws operate, and how they are expected to interact with these laws. Uh, and the process of doing this, or one of the ways of doing this, is through legal empowerment, which entails arming people with the knowledge of what these laws are and how the laws affect them, and how they are expected to interact with these laws. And it's important to note that, when communities are legally empowered, they are able to also challenge laws that infringe on their basic freedoms and ensure that, laws continue to serve their intended purpose. NULAI Nigeria for over a decade now has um, implemented various legal empowerment initiatives through her network of campus-based law clinics. And these legal empowerment initiatives provide a platform for law students to carry out justice education and street law programs in communities across the country. And some of the street law initiatives that NULAI has implemented are the Freedom of Information Street Law Program. We also have the Child's Rights Street Law Program, and also the Community-Based Interventions to Protect Civic Spaces Street Law Program, amongst others. Now, I've mentioned street law a couple of times, and for some persons who may be hearing, street law for the first time, what is street law? So, street law is an innovative approach to justice education that enables lawyers, law students, and stakeholders in the justice sector to teach people to teach communities about their rights, about their responsibilities, about the remedies that are available to them under the law in a way that is practical and relevant to them. So now, moving on, what is the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program, and why are we having the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program? The NULAI Virtual Street Law Program is a digital initiative that has been employed by NULAI as in order to create a platform for law students to carry out community empowerment. And what we do under this is we build the capacity of the students to engage in digital advocacy, and then we provide the platform as well for the students to engage in digital advocacy. So in very simple words, the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program is taking the street law program and putting it in the virtual context, taking it from the physical streets to the virtual streets. Now, why the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program? Why are we having the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program? Over the years, there has been a rapid growth of digital technology, and the impact of this is that our communities have expanded to include both digital and physical communities. And this means that traditional forms of delivery, such as in-person street law outreaches and legal education seminars, will no longer adequately meet the desires and needs of people who are hoping to access legal information faster and more conveniently. Today, you have people transacting businesses over the virtual space. You have people hosting events over the virtual space, such as we are doing now. And in order for us to meet these needs, uh, with the changing times, it became necessary for us to create a more structured platform for the students to continue to make a difference in their communities using street law to ensure that the impact is sustained and also further expanded. Now, very simply, ultimately, the goal of the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program is for the Nigerian public to be legally empowered to participate as active members in building a sustainable, democratic, and a people-centered society. And drawing from this, the objectives of the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program is: one, we hope to promote public legal knowledge by increasing people's understanding of key provisions of Nigerian laws, how these laws are used by the various agencies and actors within the state, and the role that this law plays in shaping the society. We are one of the Another objective also is to encourage critical debate by fostering and that connects laws to current global, national, and local dynamics in sustainable development. And then lastly, one of the objectives is also to promote active youth participation. So with this program, there is a very strong. All right. So now I would be introducing the virtual street law competition, the VSLC, which is a component of the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program. So with the virtual street law competition, we are looking to engage law clinic students across the country to create compelling and educational digital content using the street law framework. So in other words, what they do in what they do with the street law, we want to add, some sort of spice to it. We want to create a platform that makes it very interesting for law clinic students to be able to virtually. And so with the competition, law clinics are. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. So The virtual street law competition is structured in a way that it is to be in 4 stages. So at the first stage of the virtual street law competition, carry out research and develop relevant content, create a 15-minute video based on the theme of the competition, because the competition takes place annually. And then after the series creates this carry out research, create this content within 1 month, where they would be required to carry out social media campaigns and drive engagements as well as interaction to their content on the NULAI YouTube channel. So the content that the law clinics would develop that the content would be submitted to us, and then we would go through the content and thereafter upload the to drive interaction to their content. After the second stage, advancement to the third stage will depend on each school's ability to meet the minimum engagement metrics. So I'm just going to touch briefly on the rest of it, because Mr. Mahmood would speak more to the law clinics are able to make it to the third stage. Then their contents will be reviewed by a panel of judges, which NULAI will set up, drawing people from different professional fields to review this content. And then the fourth stage, which is the final stage, is the implementation stage. So as part of the content that the law clinics will be creating, they are not just going to educate members of the public in the content that they will be creating, but they will also be highlighting challenges with some of the laws and ways that they can contribute to addressing those challenges. And so the schools who scale through to the final round and are selected as finalists would be given an award sum to implement the project. Okay, so at this point, I would like to say that the door is opened. We're inviting partners to partner with us in advancing the goal and the objectives of this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Phoebe, for that brilliant overview of the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program. The next item on our agenda is a session with Amy Wallace. Amy Wallace will be talking to us
Hello.
Amy Wallace will be talking to us on connecting street law to digital advocacy in access to justice. But before we proceed with that, I'll just read out Amy's profile for others who might not be familiar with who she is. Once again, Amy, thank you for taking our time to be here. Amy Wallace is a professor, is an expert in interactive teaching methodology. She's passionate about teaching pedagogy and works internationally to assist law schools and organizations in the development of street law and other clinical programs. She founded the Street Law Experiential Program at NYLS, that's the New York Law School, and works to support new street law programs at law schools around the country. She has written and presented extensively on public legal education and street law topics. In 2023, she received the NYLS Otto L. Walter Distinguished Writing Award. Professor Wallace started her career as a corporate associate at Morgan Lewis and Bocchius LLP. I hope I got that right. In the mergers and acquisitions group. During her time in private practice, her passion for pro bono work and public legal education programs solidified. She has worked in education since leaving private practice with a focus on public legal education programs in underserved communities. Professor Wallace helps coordinate and teaches Introduction to Legal Analysis for the NYLS Pre-Law Pipeline Program. Once again, thank you very much, Professor Wallace, for being here today. You can go ahead.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited about this project, and I'm thrilled to be here. So in addition to, thank you for the introduction, in addition to being a professor at New York Law School, I also work at StreetLaw, Inc., and I'm going to talk a little bit about the background of StreetLaw at the start of my program. But at StreetLaw, Inc., I'm the advisor for law school programs. So that means I work with law schools in the United States, but a lot of programs internationally to support the growth and development and the founding of programs at law schools around the world. In the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to work with Uzbekistan, Pakistan, the Republic of Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, and actually I also see on the call someone I worked with on a small project in Uganda. So excited to see them here as well. So let me share my screen and talk a little bit about the background of street law and where it came from. So just as a little bit of history, I like to use photos when I'm presenting, so there's something for people to look at other than me. So street law started back in the 1970s at Georgetown Law School. And I wanted to start by saying it was a group of law students who had an idea, really similar to the group that had an idea to put together the NULAI virtual program. So it's just a group of people with a great idea. They were law students who noticed that in the United States at that time in the 1970s was a big time for civil rights in the United States. And while the law students noted that that was great, that there was a large segment of the population that really weren't aware of their rights. And the law students were concerned that if they didn't know what their rights were, and they didn't have the tools to assert them, it didn't really matter that those rights existed in the world if people didn't know what they were. So they saw a need in their community, again, similar to why we're all here today, that the people running this program saw a need in your community. So the law students decided that what they needed to do is they needed to educate the public, that they decided that the law shouldn't just be something that's understood by lawyers and judges and law students, that everyone needs to understand the law in order to be actively involved in their communities. So they thought a good place to start would be high schools. So they approached some high schools in Washington, D.C., and they asked the students, and this is a concept that I'm going to talk a little bit more about, but I know that Mr. Ikechu, hopefully I pronounced that properly, also raised this idea of how do we know what to teach people? Well, we need to ask. And that started way back in the 1970s at Georgetown. They reached out to the high school students and they said, what do you need to know? And the high school students said, you know, we want to know about criminal law. We want to know about interactions with the police. We want to know about family law. And they said, we want to know the things we need on the street. And that's where the name Street Law came from, and it stuck 50 years later. So that program started at Georgetown and expanded to other high schools in the area. Georgetown then implemented an annual mock trial tournament, which is still in place today at Georgetown. A number of schools, I believe 30 high schools in the DC area participate. And just, you know, to show all my cards, that was the first year I did street law. So I've been involved with street law for 25 years. This was me with my high school class at Georgetown in 2000, getting ready to do our mock trial tournament. So this was the class that I taught my final year of law school. So our first speaker also talked about how clinical legal education sort of became his compass, and it was for me as well. I thought I was going to work at a big law firm my whole career, and then I did this incredible program in my last year, and it completely shaped my legal career. So fortunately, I was able to start the street law program at my own law school, at New York Law School. But out of that Georgetown program that started in the 1970s, that program has expanded dramatically. There's about 100 law schools in the United States that do some version of street law. My street law program at my law school, my law students get credit for that. We have a regular weekly seminar. I actually have two programs, one that works with high school students. Then I have a separate class where my law students teach in a community setting. They teach in shelters for people experiencing homelessness. And that's really how street law has expanded around the world. A lot of the programs have started with school children, but there are programs that work with survivors of intimate partner violence. There are programs like mine that work in shelters for people experiencing homelessness, for people just returning to society after being incarcerated. You know, any group that needs to know about their rights could benefit from a street law program. And these programs, and I don't have to tell you, are global. There are, you know, some estimates, several hundred programs around the world of different street law programs. Also out of that Georgetown program grew Street Law Inc. So Street Law Inc. has been around, I don't know the exact date when it started, but it was pretty close to the founding of the Georgetown program. And we work on a variety of different programs domestically in the United States and around the world, all centered on civic and legal education that communities need. So again, going back to what our first speaker was talking about, and Phoebe was also talking about, street law can look like a lot of different things. You can be teaching different topics, you can be working with different community members, but there are certain things that are always in common. So that's a photograph of a group of law students that I was working with in Uzbekistan, and they were preparing to teach high school students in their area. But so the three things that sort of tie street law together are this concept of practical legal lessons, including legal experts, and having the participants do engaging activities. So in terms of practical legal lessons, what we're teaching needs to be useful and applicable to the everyday lives of the people that we're teaching. And then in terms of legal experts, and I echo the sentiments of the other speakers, you know, that could be law students, that could be lawyers, judges, community advocates. But the more that we involve, you know, community members with the legal experts who have this knowledge and this experience, the better. And then the last part is engaging material. One of the, you know, founding principles of street law is not just information dissemination, that it's not just that we're giving people information, but that we're empowering them. And that's a word I've heard a lot today. We're empowering them to use that information. So we're helping them develop the skills to advocate for themselves. So then the next question is, how can this be translated into a digital platform? Can I just say first off that I really am just I love this whole idea. I love the idea of the digital platform. I love the idea of this competition. I want to know if I can get access to the videos. I would love to see some of the videos that I know, all of you on the call who are working at law clinics, either law students or clinic directors. I know those videos are going to be incredible. So hopefully there'll be a way for us to see those videos as well. So one of the things that I love about StreetLaw, and I know that my law students love about StreetLaw, is the creativity that we get to use when putting those materials together. And this project that you all are working on is all about creativity. So in terms of, I'm going to stop share for a second because I'm going to show something online. So in terms of digital content, StreetLaw Inc. has an enormous library of materials, all of which is free, is on their website. So that is, those could be case summaries, those could be lesson plans, those could be activities, a ton of material that's on their website, because we too see the value of this digital space as sort of a complement to what happens as in live in-person work. But I wanted to highlight one program in particular that, hold on, let me just pull up the website that I'm looking at. So I wanted to highlight that this is one of the digital programs that StreetLaw has done recently. This is a program called Legal Timelines. So StreetLaw Inc. has done a ton of research. And again, this is that legal expert part. This was obviously all vetted by legal experts in each of these fields. But so they have this this website that highlights these legal timelines. And there's timelines on a variety of topics: Indigenous rights. I'm going to go down to the students' rights one. That's what we're currently teaching with our high school students. We're doing freedom of speech with our students. So I'm going to this one. But the interesting thing about this, and this is what I'm going to connect back to sort of what your assignment is that this is digital information, but there's also this interactive piece of we want community members to take this information and use it. We're not just, providing information, but we're also hopefully developing skills. So there's a variety of activities that go along with this digital information, which could be used by teachers or community members. And then I really like this interactive timeline, which you can see from sort of the start of, our Bill of Rights in the United States. And then you can start to see when students' rights actually became something that was really identifiable. And then if you click on any of these different dates on the timeline, you get access to both primary sources, which is something that is really important for them to use, and then information on each of those times. But students or participants are really able to access a ton of information and primary source documents on this timeline. So I thought this was an interesting example to show. So a lot of background noise. I don't know if it's possible for someone to mute. I'm not sure who it is, but so I think this, thank you for that. I don't know if that was Phoebe or who did that, but thank you very much. So that brings me back to my suggestions and how my call to action for all the law clinics looking to participate in this competition. I'm going to go back to my slides really quickly. And then I would love to get a little feedback, but we may not have time. We'll have to see how we go. But something that's very important and definitely goes back to what our first speaker was talking about is this idea of, we call it backwards design. That was what our first speakers called it, context, need, and strategy. But I really saw echoes of what my advice was for you today, this concept of backwards design. And whether we're talking about an in-person session or we're talking about virtual activities, these are the questions that I think we absolutely need to keep in our mind when we're right at the start of thinking about what it is we want to do. So number one, who am I working with? What community members is this project aimed at? And then number two, what are the needs of those community members, or what are the needs of that community? And I guess the question we need to answer before that is, how do we find out what the needs are? And I know our first speaker spoke of a formal needs assessment. Sometimes it can be an informal needs assessment. Sometimes we speak with experts. But the question of how do we determine what the needs are of the community, and then what are those needs? And then I think, when I'm speaking with my law students, the two things that need to be sort of on your mind from the beginning of the planning of this session straight through to the end are, what information do I want the community members to know at the end of this activity? What are we hoping they're going to take away from the end of this activity? And then I think equally important is, what skills do I want those community members to develop while they're participating in this activity? And that's sort of the challenge that I find sometimes with virtual materials and activities is, I think it's a lot easier to help the community develop substantive knowledge about issues. But I think it's harder sometimes, and it just requires a little more effort, not impossible, but harder sometimes, to develop the skills of the community members, to empower them with those advocacy skills through an online forum. So that's sort of my challenge to you all, is to keep those two things in mind when you're creating this. I think you're up to it, and I think you have the perfect leadership in NULAI and the organization here to accomplish these goals. But I wanted to sort of make sure that I highlighted that as part of my my talk with you all today. That's my contact information. I'm happy to help if anyone has, if there's anything I can do to help along the way. But I think this is really a phenomenal program. I really appreciate being able to speak with you all. And please let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And that's it for me.
That was great, Emmy. Where are the NULAI people? Emmy, that was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I can only see myself though.
Oh, okay.
A lot of me.
Much better. Thank you very much. That was an insightful one. I'm just holding forth for Phoebe. She will come on soon to or Ways will take us further.
Thank you very much, Professor Wallace, for that very insightful session. And we've had all of your call to action. Hopefully, we'll implement most of those things as we work to farm out the implementation of the program. Once again, thank you for your time, for coming out to be part of this launch and the program. The next item on the agenda, I have the pleasure of inviting our erudite professor of law, Professor Ernest Ojukwu, SAN, who is also the president of NULAI Nigeria. You're welcome, Prof. Prof will be talking to us on the importance of sustaining clinical legal education in Nigeria, and after his talk, we'll also have the pleasure of having Prof officially launch the NULAI virtual street law program. But before we get into that, I know most of us are familiar with who Prof is, but I'll still read out his short bio. Professor Ernest Ojukwu is a senior advocate of Nigeria and a professor of law at the Bayes University of Nigeria. He's renowned for his leadership in the development and institutionalization of clinical legal education in Nigeria, designing the CLE curricula for law faculties at the Nigerian Law School. Prof has also facilitated numerous CLE conferences and workshops across the country. Prof is fondly known as teacher. He has presented widely at international forums such as the Global Alliance, the Global Alliance for Justice Education, GAGE, International Journal of Clinical Legal Education, IJCLE, and the Harvard Law School's Global Legal Education Forum. In 2013, he was the keynote speaker at the 11th IJCLE 12th Australian CLE conferences in Brisbane. In addition to his academic work, he is the principal partner at Ojukwu, Fatu, and Yusuf. His career includes serving as the Dean Faculty of Law, Abia State University, Deputy Director General at the Nigerian Law School, Enugu, and Chair of the Nigerian Bar Association's Law Reform Committee. He has authored numerous publications on various legal topics, including litigation, tax law, digital evidence, pretrial detention, child's rights, freedom of information, constitutionalism, legal education reform, and clinical legal education. Prof, it's always a pleasure to have you speak with us, sir. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Wes. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone on this wonderful occasion. And I'm so happy that Emmy was able to join us and make this presentation, talking about street law and at this level, where we want to now formalize our program that we have been toying with on street law for many years. It's a great one to the NULAI team for this wonderful event. As a matter of fact, Emmy, it was my participation at the Georgetown University training program of Street Law Incorporated that fired my my dreams about clinical legal education in Nigeria, and I can say fired the dreams of CLE in Nigeria. Because we were about 8 of us from different schools that participated in that Street Law Incorporated training for 2 weeks in Georgetown in 2000. And that the history is what we have now seen as clinical legal education in Nigeria. So I'm happy that at this stage we are now kind of going back to the actual concept of street law as the first interaction we had on what clinical litigation is all about in Nigeria. And so I welcome everybody and say that it is an honor to stand here and discuss the subject that is close to the heart of legal progress in Nigeria, the imperative of sustaining clinical legal education in our nation. Clinical litigation is not just an academic model, as we already know. It is the bridge between legal theory and lived realities of our society. It transforms law students from passive learners into active contributors to justice, equipping them with practical skills while addressing the legal needs of undeserved communities. And that in Nigeria, where access to justice remains a challenge for many, CLE is not merely important, it is essential. And I'm happy the champions of CLE today in Nigeria are the products of our initial initiative on this program, talking about young academics and young teachers and young lawyers and young governance competent people like Ikechukwu, who appeared here today. I think I've not seen his photograph for more than 15 years. So these are the result of our effort on CLE, and their own testimony is enough evaluation for the achievement of our colleagues who had embedded themselves in transforming the idea of CLE into what it is today in Nigeria. And so Nigeria faces a profound justice deficit, and we all know that. Millions lack access to legal representation, are unaware of their rights, or are trapped in cycles of injustice due to systemic barriers. And law clinics are, as the front line of CLE, provide free legal aid, mediation, and public education, ensuring that justice is not a privilege for the few, but a right for all. And so by sustaining CLE, we sustain hope for the marginalized, the indigent, women, children, victims of human rights abuses. And there are in thousands, and not to our knowledge in some cases, Traditional legal education then prioritizes textbooks over real-world problem solving, and that is my greatest challenge today, is how to move our teachers, a majority of our teachers, from textbook-based preachers to actual result-oriented educators who will actually want to see a result from what they're doing year in, year out, and not just do the same thing, define human rights for law students every year, and that ends it. CLE changes this by immersing students in client interviews, case management, advocacy and community engagement, and leadership. These experiences produce lawyers who are not just academically sound, but also ethically grounded and skilled in addressing Nigeria's complex legal challenges. If we want a judiciary, for example, and legal profession that serves the people, CLE must remain a cornerstone of legal training. I hear, so many times we will see one injustice or the other on the social media, perpetuated in the courts and assisted by lawyers, either prosecutors or the defense lawyers, or in civil matters between the two parties, and almost all the cases, the actual act of injustice is done by the presentation of the lawyers. And people wonder why it is so. And I said to them, but you didn't prepare our lawyers as justice lawyers. You prepare them as lawyers, legal lawyers, not justice lawyers. We just train them on definitions of offenses and the principles of contract and all that, without actually dealing with the subject of education as a justice subject. So a key pillar of CLE is instilling in students the value of pro bono service, the moral duty to give back to society. By embedding this culture early, we nurture a generation of lawyers who see their profession as a tool for social change, not just personal gain. In a nation where economic disparities limit access to justice, this ethos is not optional. It is a necessity. And we're talking about limiting access to justice. The average public servant in Nigeria, cannot provide legal lawyers for themselves in any situation they find themselves in court or within the security agencies, because their salaries won't be enough to hire any lawyer. An informed citizenry is the bedrock of democracy. Through CLE initiatives like street law programs, prison outreaches, and civic education, law students empower communities to understand their rights and hold institutions accountable. I know Ikechukwu talked about his foray into freedom of information law. In an era of growing civic apathy and misinformation, CLE serves as a beacon of legal literacy and active citizenship. The future, the future of CLE lies in embracing technology, virtual law clinics, online dispute resolution, and digital advocacy like NULAI's virtual street law program expand the reach and impact of clinical work. To remain relevant, CLE must evolve with trends, ensuring that legal empowerment keeps pace with rapidly changing world. And for us to sustain CLE requires collective commitment. Law schools and universities, legal practitioners and judges, government and policymakers, students must see CLE opportunities as a duty to society, not just a curriculum requirement. And teachers must see themselves as a role player in this matter. They cannot be aloof, and they have continued being aloof. And that's why we have not sustained effectively the dreams about CLE in Nigeria, because teachers themselves are ignorant of the opportunities provided by using the CLE and engaging in CLE and street law programs and community outreaches and pro bono services as beneficial. Clinical education is more than a program. It is a movement that says justice should be accessible, that lawyers should be servants of the people, and that the law must work for everyone, not just the powerful. And in fact, when it ceases to work for everyone, even the powerful will be challenged at some point. Let us commit today to uphold, expand, and innovate CLE in Nigeria, for in its success lies the promise of a fairer, more just society. I've been told that I am to launch the street law project today too. So we take a bold step. We're taking a bold step with NULAI Virtual Street Law Program today, an innovative digital platform designed to revolutionize legal empowerment. The NULAI N-VSL will harness the creativity of law students to simplify and disseminate key Nigerian laws, their application and society impact through engaging digital advocacy. But the teachers themselves must first get to the level of the students before this will be successful. The teachers will be our greatest challenge in implementation of this project. And we have to focus on how we can turn around our teachers and bring them to the level of Ikechukwu them when they were in school, even, not even when they graduated. This program will enhance public legal knowledge through accessible digital content, encourage critical debate on legal issues affecting Nigerians, promote active youth engagement in legal education and advocacy. At this launch, we will discover the vision behind, or we have already started seeing it in the presentations we have had so far, including the exciting virtual street law competition, and explore how law clinics can leverage this platform to amplify legal literacy and community impact. As educators shaping the next generation of legal minds, our role is invaluable in ensuring the success of this initiative. Together, we can empower students and communities to understand, demand, and defend their rights in an evolving digital age. I thank you for your dedication to this cause. Let's embark on this transformative journey where legal education meets innovation for societal change. Welcome, and let the launch begin. I hereby launch and present the NULAI N-VSL today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that very wonderful session. And to our participants, thank you for your time. Before we go further into the next session, there's someone whom we would like to recognize, one of our invited guests, the person of Prof. Isa Hayatu Chiroma, Director General of the Nigerian Law School and Vice President of NULAI Nigeria. So
Professor
moving
Chiroma
on.
It's the SAN. And CON.
My apologies. Yes, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and very esteemed Professor of Law. So moving on to our next session, we'll be having participants give their feedback, questions. If you have questions, if there are contributions that you would like to make, suggestions on how you think that we can better implement the NULAI Virtual Street Law Program, and things that we can also incorporate into the program. So I'm going to allow Wiz to handle that. He will be facilitating the session. Thank you very much. Over to you now, Wiz.
Thank you very much, Phoebe. Once again, we thank our participants for taking out time to be here. We've had very, very enlightening sessions with Ikechukwu Uzoma, Amy Wallace, Professor Ernest Ojukwu. I'm sure there are some comments, if you like, contributions on most especially how we can, have a very, very good implementation of the virtual street law program. So if you have any questions or you need clarifications on certain issues. So for participants that want to contribute, you could just raise your hand so we can see you and give you an opportunity to speak. Every participant will have at least 1 to 2 minutes to speak, or just 1 minute, right, to speak on the issue. And if you just have a question, you can also use the chat box to ask that question. So we're looking forward to your feedback. I see Hamza Mohammed. Hamza Mohammed his hand. So Hamza Mohammed, go ahead.
Okay, good day, everyone. I prefer the please,
Is Hamza speaking?
Hamza Mohammed, are you speaking to us?
yes, I'm speaking to you. Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, because we can. You're not very audible.
Okay, let me open up my book. So what about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're better now.
Okay. So the question I was asking, please, can everyone hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good day, everyone. I have some observation, perhaps. Mostly I don't know if NULAI has put into consideration this issue of the basic challenge of having people, posting things online. This generation, we're a generation where information are readily available online, but people don't read. People don't even get to information except there are ones that relate or involve dancing, maybe fashion and some other things. So I think it would be more interesting if NULAI can come up with maybe a short skit or dramas. Yeah, something like that. Just short skit of a thing, coordinating. Maybe there could be rules in the competition that will require the law clinics to include maybe some kind of movies or something that will center around educating people, since that is what this generation, the mind of this generation currently focus on. So this is just my own contribution, just a form of suggestion. If we could make it more lively, and I don't know. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamza Mohammed. I don't know. Just, I don't know if you joined, at what time you joined, but maybe Phoebe will go over that again. It forms part of what we're trying to do with the competition, but Phoebe will shed more light on that. I see Dr. Nasir Mukhtar.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, always. Thank you so much,
Yes,
always. Yeah, so good evening, professors and other colleagues. Good evening, my dear participants. I want to start by highlighting the philosophical presentation of the teacher, Professor Enes, on the street law and its importance and the efforts NULAI have done over the years and the outcome, of what that has already impacted in our new generation of lawyers and other lawyers, other students, former students that are working now on different areas of impact on different communities through different ways. When I listened to his presentation, and it was really, really deep for me, because I see how he connected what had been done before, all the efforts, and the dream, and how sustainability is key. I'm very happy because this is coming at a time when there has been some kind of a law rating, or kind of a law. We are going on a law kind of when it comes to the movement on clinical legal education in the country. And so we need this innovative initiatives to spark the interest back and to challenge our teachers to actually stand up or sit up to get the skills needed to actually teach in this century. We've been trying to do a lot of that. We've been trying to train teachers. We've been also bringing other teachers from other countries to also teach the teachers. But I tell you that the impact is still very slow, and teachers are still, most teachers are still very traditional and are not inclined to being innovative. So this is going to wake them up, and I'm very happy that Prof has said it in his presentation, that it's now a necessity because now clinical legal education is meeting innovation And then that has to bring the justice that is the new kind of justice that is now required. Like Amy Wallace said, that just the needs also changes. And so what was justice before, perhaps is no longer what more of it is required now in different perspectives. I want to echo the fact that our youth now, and in fact, including the members of the community, are mostly online now, including those that are not educated, are online following videos and following things that are being put there. So it's really easy to reach them and to probably impact on them and get them to understand their rights and other aspects of the law through those online content. This is a very, very innovative idea, very good, and I am 100% in support of that. I thank all the other speakers like Ikechukwu that talk about how he came into using his opportunity to, what he's doing today. And I hope our students are listening also to know that they can actually also leverage on these opportunities, and make greater impacts globally. So thank you very much, NULAI, for bringing this back again, and we are ready to do it again and to continue to push our students and our colleagues to do the right thing as far as justice is going to be served at the end of the day. Thank you very much, and this is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mukhtar, for your contribution. Highly appreciated. We can take two more persons. We can take feedback from two more persons. So if you want to speak, you can just indicate by raising your hand. Okay, we're going to take Professor Adekoya. And I don't know what name is, who is under the ITEL P671L. We'll take you next. But before we do that, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Ere Amakri, who is the programs manager for the Henrik Boll Foundation office in Abuja. Henrik Boll Foundation, as you know, are supporting us in the implementation of this project. And they've also been our partners over the last 5-6 years and have supported interventions to further protect civic spaces and communities around the country. We do appreciate your support all the time and your partnership in the implementation of this virtual street law program. So once again, thank you for being here, Ere, and thank you to HBS for your support. So we'll take Professor Adekoya next, and then take the ITEL P671L. And then finally, we'll take Ayo Joseph and we'll wrap up. Thank you. Professor Adekoya, please.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope
yes,
Prof.
Sir. Yes, good evening. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I want to appreciate everybody for this innovative program that NULAI is launching today. I want from the president of NULAI, Professor Ernest Ojukwu, SCN, the vice president, Professor Issa Shiroma, SCN and CON, our distinguished Madam Lagi. I want to appreciate you, all staff of NULAI, the clinical movement in Nigeria, our past students, and then our distinguished colleagues. Sir, I want to refer to the address of the president, Professor Ernest Ojukwu, SCN. Sir, what is really baffling me and making me to be deeply worried is about the issue that you mentioned with our colleagues. And today, sir, just today, a colleague was asking me in another university, what is CLE? What does it entail? And I was asking myself, this is a colleague that has been part of training of law students. And he's just asking me just this morning, what is CLE? And I have to take my time to narrate. I'm deeply troubled because you can imagine that if you engage a lawyer and he doesn't know the law, it's the calamity of the client. I get deeply worried about the lack of commitment and dwindling interest of our colleagues in CLE. Then with nostalgia, I look back on all the training we've had from NULAI, the African colloquium that we had in Eliza Day, even the Law Teachers Conference, that was hosted by the law school. And I remember all that NULAI is doing over the past 20 years. But I don't feel fulfilled that after 20 years, we should still be talking about what is CLE, a law lecturer. What is CLE? And then we are still saying that, in fact, if we do a research and go to most law clinics, you will see that virtually nothing is happening in the law clinics. But sir, I also want to say that the issue of standardization that was discussed at the NULAI meeting in Abuja at I've forgotten the name of that building now that we held it. A lot of people came from the law school, from a lot of institutions came from EFCC, all those things. I think the meeting place, yes, I remember now, sir. I remember, sir, I think we need to, as a matter of urgency, make sure that we institutionalize this issue of standardization. I was asking as a consultant, so a faculty of law, and I was there yesterday telling them the law clinic, this is what you need to put in place, the moot court, all those things, and the VC was telling me, of course, the VC is a scientist, so was telling me, Prof, these things are too much. Actually, I said, no. I said, no, let us do this thing properly from the beginning. I said, in most cases, once license is issued by NUC to a private university, the owners feel that you can make do with what you have. And they begin to be stingy in putting money for resources and infrastructure. So, sir, I think maybe we need to, as a matter of urgency, apart from the issue of standardization, that is the first thing I feel that NULAI should finish and wrap up. So that is one of the things that the combined team, because that is the idea, that it will not be a combined team, NULAI will be in the accreditation team, with law school and NUC, so that the NULAI person can actually scrutinize the CLE content. It's not just having a law clinic, you have the space, we have the books, and that is all. And then a lot of window dressing takes place during accreditation. So the issue of standardization is very key. That is one side. Then secondly, I know that the issue of finance is also very important. But I want to see that if NULAI can see how we can go back and do training and retraining again, because it's like the consciousness is dying. People are not excited. People are not showing interest, about CLE. In fact, most times, if I see anything on CLE, I have to forward it to the coordinator of our law clinic, so that to get them alive. And these are very serious issues. And that is the only way we can get our law clinic to be sustainable. In fact, there was a law clinic I went to, sir, recently. That is about 2 weeks ago. I just thought they have books there, they have everything. In fact, there is no sign of life in the law clinic there. No sign of life, sir. So these are issues that I think that NULAI, so that the efforts of NULAI since inception of CLE in Nigeria will not, go down the drain. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your contribution. Highly appreciated. So we'll take the final contribution from, I don't know what the name is, but your ITEL P671.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
And if you can kindly keep it under a minute, we'll appreciate it. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm very happy. Can you hear me, sir?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Simeon Idajele from Obi State University. I'm just an undergraduate law student, and the opportunity was given to us through our law clinic, how do I call it, law clinic coordinator. So I want to thank you very much for the program. But looking at what I have benefited from this program within these few hours, around 4 o'clock that we started, and the kind of things I'm hearing, I want to say that maybe we are one of those Gen Z upcoming lawyers by God's grace, and I'm of the opinion that the street now is already on social media, and what I'm hearing today, I'm of the opinion that this street law should become a core course in our universities, that nowadays upcoming law students or lawyers should be grounded in it. Because what we are hearing today, if not the fact that we have maybe a fair law clinic that is functioning, we will discover that these things, we are just doing other things that it does not even partake to this. And this is, to me, from these few minutes, I discovered that this is where the future of law is. And if we must reach the people that we intended to reach, then this maybe street law, I'm strongly of the opinion that it should be one of the course that we will run or we will do in the school, not just maybe coming across it in this way. Because to me, it's very, very important. And it has a lot to do with the future of the people, future of the upcoming lawyers, and future of this generation. Thank you very much. I mean, Simeon.
Thank you very much for your contributions. And we are glad that some of the powerhouses when it comes to legal education in Nigeria are in this meeting. So your contributions will be taken into consideration, and hopefully, the curriculum might be reformed to include that program. But as far as we know it right now, the law clinics are also serving that purpose of teaching street law within the law clinics. I see that we still have Mr. Ayo Joseph's hand up. But before we take Mr. Ayo Joseph, I would like to just give Professor Isa Hayatu Chiroma, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the opportunity to say something. I see his hand is raised.
Good evening and thank you so much. I joined very late. I had some commitment somewhere, but I sincerely apologize. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Prof. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I listened to Professor Adekoya attentively on challenges, and that's what my concern also is. Last 5-10 years, where our clinics are, most of our clinics, this is a challenge that we need to look at seriously. I think a lot of things have happened in the last few years, especially clinics that I'm aware. I can speak specifically of University of Madrid Law Clinic. The clinic was very vibrant. We had good office, good equipment, facilities, and anything we needed to run that clinic. As it is today, things have deteriorated, and I'm sure this has happened to a lot of clinics. So it's a very serious challenge that we need to look at as NULAI. What is the way forward? Funding in the university has dwindled, staffing and other things. So I think this is a very serious challenge. Yes, we can talk about street law, but who's going to implement? I think these are challenges that we need to look at. And I think we need to do this urgently as an organization. I think that's my comment. I thank each and every one of us for joining this lunch. I welcome you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Prof. Your contributions are highly appreciated. We'll finally just take Mr. Ayo, and then I'll invite Mr. Mahmoud to give us the vote of thanks. And then Phoebe will just address the earlier question asked by one of the participants, and then we can close.
No, I don't think Phoebe should address anything. She should just go to the chat and answer they are looking for a link. We can't talk about the competition again here. It's better to go and put access to the information on the chat.
That's noted, Prof. So, Mr. Ayo, go ahead, please, so that we can conclude.
Well, but now, let me think. I can't wait. Oh, about that,
Hello, Mr. Ayo, are you there?
Yes, please, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. I can hear you now. Right?
All right, thank you for having me. I think what I have is a question and, of course, a concern. I don't know. I don't know the way informations are, of course, passed across by NULAI, because there are some projects that are being done up there that maybe I'll speak for myself over here. For our law clinic at the University of Jos, we are not aware most of the times. I don't know how informations are passed, because even for this, the very program we have today, it was the later end of last week that we get to start registering, get to know about it. And I know the plan had been on the way even before just last week. I don't know how information are passed exactly, and law clinics should be carried along so that we can be properly informed and be able to train ourselves to align with the programs going on at the national level. That is one. And secondly, it's another concern too. I don't know, because most schools are not really concerned about the law clinic. It is just out there, maybe because it's a requirement for accreditation. They are not really making any commitment to make sure that equipment are provided for the student, that the students are properly trained for the effective implementation of the projects they are supposed to engage on. I don't know if there is anything NULAI can actually do, of course, to make sure that it is not just a requirement for the structure is not just the requirement for accreditation, that the proper implementations of the law clinic programs are, of course, considered, so that by so doing, those universities will make proper plan of making sure that it's not just an available structure, but a working structure. All right, that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ayo, for your question. And I think we're rounding up. So before we do that, I'll just quickly quickly address your issue about law clinics being not being carried out. So at the turn of each session for the law clinics, what we do is we reach out to the clinic coordinators to update our law clinic register, where if there is a transition, for instance, the law clinic head or the law clinic coordinator changes, we ask that you send information to us. So that way we send every information to that on our lists. For University of Jos, we have been in communication with Dr. Mahan Mafuai, and I believe you know who that is. So most of the information we pass it through him, and with the belief that he would share it across the faculty. Most of the speakers and those who make comments brought about issues that needs to be addressed. So one of the things that we're doing with the NULAI street law is seeing how, because most of the time you hear people complain about funding. That's why we are not able to do one or two things in the law clinic. But with this, it gives an opportunity for students to lead. And if you understand the idea of clinical legal education, it's mostly focused on the clinic. So it gives the students a platform to provide relevant justice education to their community. And we're using this virtual street law as a strategy to promote online engagement. We see that if you look at the digital space, mostly it's saturated or it's being taken over by youth, and you find them mostly in the university setting. So we want to tap into this pool of manpower or resources to ensure that we provide digital legal literacy and provide an opportunity for our students to engage. There was also a question on the competition format. We have a website for the virtual street law competition, which we'll share with you. You have the objectives of the competition, the stages of the competition. For this year, we're looking at the theme for this year is we're looking at the law and freedom of information. This, freedom of expression. For us, this is very instructive because over the past few years, we've seen that there's a shrinking of the civic space in Nigeria, where you have the government or security forces or security agencies use laws such as defamation law, terrorism law, and the likes, the cyber crimes law to kind of stifle freedom of expression, as it were. So we want to use that as a platform to have students look at what the law says and the negative impact of how the law is being used and the positive side of the law. And then also, how can we help people who come into conflict with these laws navigate these issues? So that is our team for this maiden edition. Like I said, we'll share the link. We'll share the link for the competition website, where you see all the information that is necessary, registration details, the metrics for registration, and the likes. So with that said, so there you go. So if you look at the chat, the comment section, you'll see your the website for the VSL. I want to use this opportunity to okay, I see before I wrap up, I see Ikechukwu has his hands up. Ikechukwu?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mahmoud. And I won't take time. I just want to reiterate the fact that challenges would always exist. And this is especially for the students. In 2020, the Feminist Coalition in Nigeria raised 37 million naira during the NSAS protest. That should inspire some thinking around innovation. If you're waiting for anyone to raise money for you and for it to come from a budget from the state and appropriated by the school, it will not happen. Now, access to digital resources includes raising funds online. It includes crowdfunding, and that is something that is happening in Nigeria. So I just want to reiterate the fact that challenges would always exist, but let's not start from challenges. And this is more to the students. Don't start from identifying challenges. Start from what you want to do and ask questions. So instead of saying there's a lack of funding, the question should be, how can we bridge the gap in funding? That is the mindset. And if people want to talk about this, you have a law clinic, want to talk about crowdfunding, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk. There is available information about all of this. I had a friend who was shot when two policemen were fighting, and he was hit by a stray bullet in 2017. We did advocacy online on his case, and the Senate had to pass a resolution and start an investigation. But in line with that, or while we were doing that, we raised money for him on GoFundMe, and we raised almost $1,000 at the time. So it's possible to raise funds. There is no impossibility. That's basically what I want students to leave here with. Thank you so much, Mr. Mahmoud.
Thank you very much, Ikechukwu. We can't overemphasize that. Don't dwell on the challenges. What are the opportunities that you see, and how can you address those opportunities? And for us, the virtual street law competition provides us an opportunity to do that. So with that, I want to sincerely thank our panelists, Professor Wallace, Ikechukwu,
our very own teacher, Professor Ernest Ojukwu, the Director General of the Nigerian Law School, Professor Chiroma, members of the NULAI board who have been with us since the start of the program, Professor Erugo, Professor Adekoya, Dr. Mukhtar, our friends from Bays, Tosi, Miriam, and Professor Olomola, and our colleagues from Gage who joined us from across the globe. We thank you. We thank you very much. We thank you so sincerely, and we look forward to partnering with you. Like we said, this for us is a new chapter. We're open to learning. This we don't know it all. Like Professor Wallace said, we can always reach out to her. So be sure that we would will reach out to you to tap into your experience with StreetLaw Inc. and what you do at the New York University Law Clinic. And then also we see some colleagues from the Montfort University in Leicester in the UK. We also look at how we can explore our ways to partner with you. We have colleagues from the Gambia, colleagues from India, and across the globe. We sincerely thank you for spending this this time with us, despite the time difference. And we look forward to contributing to legal empowerment, as it were, and also developing the skills of law students to provide that to bridge that gap in legal empowerment. So I think I'll thank you once again we thank you very much to the team at NULAI, Ogochi, Phoebe, Ways, Oluchi, Samuel, and Emmanuel. Thank you very much for the hard work you put in, and to our supporters at the HVS. I see Ariel was on here. Thank you so much for your support, and we look forward to doing greater things with you as we go forward. So thank you very much, and we wish you a pleasant evening and look forward to meeting many of you, if not all. So for the competition, we have information sessions for law faculties or law clinics that are interested in registering the competition, and we'll share the schedule for this information sessions. So the registration link is on the chat box. It's a Google form. So interested law faculties can register. And then Amy had made a request to ask if we would share if we would share the videos with her. And be sure we will do that as I'll reach out to you to discuss. We're kind of working out how we'll do the assessment, and that's something we can reach out to you to work out with. So thank you very much once again, and do have a pleasant evening. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. Annie, I sent you a message. Will you be at AAL's conference? Okay, so she's off already.
Quickly before we leave,
yeah, my prof, I've registered for the AALS conference, my prof.
Oh, great! So we'll be there.
Yes, I'll try, sir. I won the award of.
Oh, great.
So I want to see what can come. Yes.
Just before I leave, I just want to acknowledge Professor Nuri, who is a champion with the Global Alliance for Justice Education. Professor Masood Nuri, thank you very much for joining us, and we're delighted to have you here. We also had a chat with Professor McCoy. I believe he was not able to join, but he reached out to me 2 days ago and wished us well. I thought I would see him here. So thank you very much, the Gage family, for making it out here. And we look forward to further engagement, and we look forward to seeing many of you in Poland in the summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Anna.
I'm fine, sir.
Well
Good evening, Prof.
I salute you. I salute you.
Good evening, teacher.
Great. Well done.
Teacher, this is Ekpa.
Eba, lost and found. Eba is lost and found.
Prof, I didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, lost and found, though.
I did
Teacher,
full
this
time,
is
sir.
Glory Jolatimi, Philomath University.
I'm also
Yes,
chairman.
Yes, American Philomath, yes.
That's still well done, though.
Amusu.
Huh?
No.
Prof, this one don't answer you. It don't answer
You
you.
guess so?
I did. Now you don't see your brake light. Eh?
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Yes.
Yes, so.
How now?
I thought you had
Professor Chiroma, good evening, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
How are you doing well? How is
Great to hear
in
from you, sir.
Abuja?
We are fine, sir. We are doing
Oh,
our
thank
best.
you so much.
I thought your retreat was this weekend.
Yeah?
I thought your retreat was this weekend.
No, next week.
Okay. Well, all right. Have a great weekend.
Oh, thank you.
Last week, I'm meeting you, sir. This is Adekoya.
Prof.
But Vice Chancellor in waiting.
Vice Chancellor in waiting. Prof, I agree with you.
I finished my.
Yeah, Vice Chancellor in waiting now. Yeah,
we said Vice Chancellor. We didn't say Deputy Vice Chancellor.
Vice Chancellor in waiting. Yeah.
Hey, Prof.
Okay.
So, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, teacher. Thank you very much.
And that's really a good night. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir. All right. Yes, sir.